I'm just going to anticipate disaster today, and maybe I'll be proven wrong. Welcome to Dirt, Sweat, and Gears, and today I am with one of the greatest cars ever made, a 1999 Honda Accord. No, it's not the fastest. No, it's not the prettiest or the most exotic. This is one of the greatest cars ever made because it is one of the most reliable cars ever made. This car belongs to a friend of mine. It has 270 something thousand miles on it. He said that it had stuttering when accelerating, and I took it out and drove it, and sure enough, it did. The RPMs would wind all the way up to red line, even past red line before shifting, and then it would just kind of clunk. So that usually means that the transmission's bad. Now, I did change the transmission fluid with obviously genuine Honda fluid, and it did really improve the situation, but really all that really does is buy you time. Now, this is one of the best cars ever made, but the transmission is the weakest link of pretty much any car or any modern economy car, definitely. And the fact that this car has 275,000 miles on its original automatic transmission is actually pretty amazing. So a couple weeks ago, I did that work, and he said, you know, it is better, but he's gonna get rid of the car pretty soon. There's only one thing that is really concerning, is that there is a really bloated hose. So today we're gonna fix that hose. We're gonna, top off the transmission fluid and then take it out for a drive, and that will really be, hopefully, kind of a short day. I always say this is gonna be easy, and then it ends up being a total disaster. So I'm just gonna anticipate disaster today, and maybe I'll be proven wrong. So let's go through the car a little bit, just take a quick little walk around. Everything about this car is original, very unimpressive, but you can see it's well kept for a 99. The original wheels. Going on the inside, really it just needs to be cleaned. Not a big deal. Let's check the mileage really quick. 272,422 miles. That is, for an original transmission, damn impressive. These usually go at about 150,000 miles. So these cars, if you were doing your own work, this car would definitely be worth keeping, 100%, because you can get a junkyard transmission for about 200 bucks, put it in yourself, and you're good to go. The problem is, hold on a second. The problem is that when you do that, when you do put in a used junkyard transmission, you're rolling the dice. You don't know if the transmission that you got is good. And most junkyards, they'll actually warranty their used transmissions. They'll say, if this is no good, then bring it back and we'll swap it out for another one and you can try again. Now that's great if you're doing your own work, because if the transmission you just put in turns out to be no good, you just swap it out and you're really not at a loss. But if you're paying someone to do that work, then you are, or if you're being paid to do that work, you're just at a loss. You're at a huge loss, because you're talking 10 hours worth of work to pull a transmission and put it back in and refill it and all that stuff. So it's for that reason that he's going to get rid of this car, just because he's going to be paying for that work. And just looking at the engine, he has taken good care of it. I mean, the mechanic he paid definitely made a mess of the Ultra Gray all over the place. I'm assuming that's Ultra Gray because Honda Bond is so expensive, no one would be that sloppy with it. Most of these hoses were good, but down here, it's a little hard to see. Flashlight down here. There's this hose down here underneath the distributor. It's ready to pop. It's very, very soft. So that's what I'm going to be replacing today. I'm just going to replace that, top off the coolant, and really just be done with it because he's going to get rid of the car shortly after. I just don't want anything to happen to it in the meantime. So I got the hose out and just trying to pull it out. I made that hole, but I don't think I made that hole. This one. This could have gone any minute. I could pull this apart with my bare hands. In fact, I'm making cuts in it with my fingernail. That is just, oof. So what I don't understand is that if this mechanic did all of this work, I mean, why didn't he replace the hose right underneath it? Clearly what was happening was that this seal on the alternator was bad, and it was leaking. It was leaking all, and the oil that leaked from it got onto the hose. Now he did the work of replacing the seal, because this seal is just fine. I might replace it just for funsies, since I've already taken it off and it's only about $1.50. But he did all of this work. He pulled the valve cover, you know, caked in a whole crap ton of ultra gray, but he didn't replace the hose that was right under it. This is my problem with most mechanics, is that you come in, you complain about something, and they address that one issue, but not the 5 other things that are underneath it. So then something else breaks, and you have to go back to them, and then they charge you essentially, 2-3 times what you would have been charged if they had just done the complete job the first time. That's something to look out for with mechanics, and that really pisses me off when I hear about that. He could also use some power steering fluid, so I'm going to top that off for him as well, since I have to go to the auto parts store for that seal and for some coolant anyway. Quickly, before I open up the package, make sure it matches up. It does. So I'm going to put this new hose in, get that all cinched down, and then I'm going to make a run to the auto parts store for the couple of little things I need, and then put this thing back together. Alright, so I got the hose replaced, I topped off the coolant, and I gotta put the cap on, and I topped off the power steering fluid, and I also replaced the distributor O-ring. One thing I noticed was that there's an extra mount right here. This distributor isn't the one for this car. And then I noticed down here, it's a pick your part distributor. I'm actually surprised. I would not have thought that this would be compatible, because it only mounts at 2 points. So here's the new hose. It's on there, my flashlight's dead. It's on both sides. Alright, so we're gonna take this thing out on the road, give it a quick shakedown run before I tell my friend that his car is ready to go. It starts up pretty good. This really is a great car. The tires are a little low on tread, but I did fill them with air also. The shocks, while it didn't seem bouncy when I pushed down on them, in the car it does feel pretty soft. But I'm used to Bilsteins on the Jeep and K-Sport on the Prelude, so I'm used to a really stiff suspension. And if you're driving really gently with this car, you're not going to notice the transmission problem. So if you're just cruising around on surface roads like this, not on the freeway, not trying to street race anybody or anything, you're gonna get at least a couple more years out of this car probably. But if you're dailying this, going on the freeway a lot, and really having to rely heavily on this, you're kind of sitting on a ticking time bomb, I guess. At least ticking time bomb for your wallet. The car is not gonna blow up, but you could feel it, like it just happened just now, where you know it's supposed to shift gears, but it still hangs up there a little bit. And I wasn't even really getting on it. I was just, driving a little more assertively. It just did it again. Right there. And then it finds the gear. Like changing the fluid, it definitely felt a lot better 2 weeks ago, right after I changed the fluid. But now that all the fluids mixed around, the new fluid with the old fluid has kind of evened itself out. It's really kind of, it's not awful, but it's definitely not ideal. It's definitely not a car you're gonna get in and be like, yes, I know this is gonna get me everywhere I want to go for the foreseeable future. This is a car where if you have AAA, I say go for it. I say take your chances. If you have AAA and you're not going on a road trip in this thing, drive it until it won't go on its own power anymore. But that's just me. That's how I approach things. I have AAA and I use it. So I think we know all we've gotten to know about this, need to know about this car. It's up to operating temperature. It's holding. We know the transmission is garbage. Well, it's not garbage. It's just worn out. The axles didn't click or anything, so the CVs actually feel pretty good. Like if you did a transmission on this, if you got a transmission that you knew was good into this thing, you could go easily. I mean, you could take this car up to 1 million miles if you wanted to. Got a great motor. It's that F23 something. Really big fan of this car. I would own one, except it's just too practical for me. I don't like practical cars, apparently. I apparently like cars that enjoy torturing me. But at the same time, they give. I'm a car masochist, apparently, because these cars torture me, but I love them. I'm about to break apart the Prelude next weekend. I might put the Jeep on the road just so that I can work on the Prelude for as long as it needs it, because I've got to do some work to the alternator. I gotta adjust the door panel, which means I gotta take the fender off and the front bumper. If I'm gonna do all that, maybe I'll flush the coolant, because we're gonna get into summer pretty soon. I'm gonna leave it here across the street from my house and tell my friend that his car is ready to pick up, and he's good to go for now. Thank you very much for watching. This has been the easiest car I've worked on in years.